Hi, ladies. Welcome to the Purpose, Power, and Profit Society. This is your host, Kimberly Smith Tiller, the Purpose Catalyst. And as you already know, I help women identify their purpose, transform their pain into power, and activate their zone of genius so they can start creating multiple streams of income. I am super excited to have a previous guest back with me tonight because this is going to be a super dope podcast. Tonight I have with me Nikkita Jervey, the
What up?
author
What up?
of Daddy Issues, right?
What up? What up?
And I absolutely love Kita and her story. So we talked before, and we talked when her book came out, probably pretty recently, or as soon as the book came out, we talked about it, and it's called Daddy Issues. It is on Amazon. Make sure you cop a book, whether it is Kindle or, print. Make sure you get one. It'll be a good present. It'll be a good present for the girls in your circle. Nevertheless, Kita has come back on the podcast because, of course, as you know, this season is all about the mamas. Shout out to the mamas. Hey, girl. Hey. And so while Kita has two little girls who are absolutely beautiful, adorable, and they're very well-mannered, we wanted to bring her back because I wanted her to talk about something particular tonight, and that is faith after loss. So, Kita, what's up, homie?
What up? What up? What up? Thank you so much for having me back, yo.
Yes, of course. Of course. So, this season is all about the mamas out here doing it, keeping their head held high, raising their kids, making sure they are succeeding in life. And I have some dope moms in my circle, in my squad. So, of course, I'm going to start at home first because I know these people intimately and I can vouch for them. So, so, Kita, tell them a little bit about you and your family.
Yes. So, me and my boo thing, we've been married for 7.5 years. We got 2.5 kids. We got our oldest is 8, our middle child now is 5, and then our youngest is still baking, due on January the 9th. So, yep.
Listen, I can't wait for this new baby because listen, all her kids are cute. You know how sometimes you have the family and you're like, I wonder what this baby is going to look like. All her kids are adorbs. Like, they just make some of the best, beautifulest, smartest kids ever. I could be a little biased because, my grandson took her daughter to the prom, but who cares? They're cute. And if you saw the pics, you'd be like, oh, I like it. But let's get into our topic. We are talking faith after loss. I think it's really major. One of the things that I did not realize, because I'm one of those moms that's one and done. But what I did not realize was how frequent women are having miscarriages. And that there are multiple in some cases. And then afterwards, they still may try, but that they may not do it. They may not still be able to have a baby just without IVF or without all of the other tools and resources that science provides for us these days. And, I come from a big family. So my grandparents had 7 kids naturally. And that is something that I knew. I really don't know too much else.
Yeah.
So, my perspective on it is really limited. But when I heard Paul and Kita's story, it really resonated with me. And I was like, you know what? We need to talk about it because women need to be encouraged. Women need to know that there is hope out here and that they don't have to give up. If there's one thing that I want people to walk away with, specifically women out here in these streets as they listen to this podcast. I want you to realize that this is the time for you to increase your faith.
Yeah.
Keep your hope alive. I know it sounds crazy, very Jesse Jacksonish. However, but there is such a thing as a lively hope, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that is highly important in any situation, but especially when we're talking about having babies, creating a legacy, and building a heritage. So, Kita, let's kind of start off in the beginning. You already had two little girls. Where did the third
So,
baby come from?
yeah, girl. So, actually, it would have to, honestly, okay, so we're going to have to go back in the times. Because honestly, because of how I grew up,
Mhm.
it was basically me and my brother. I always envisioned just having, two kids, boy, girl, dog, picket fence. That's what I envisioned for my life.
Oh.
And so, after we had our oldest, I'm thinking and praying and hoping for a boy. And so when we decided to start trying, I got off of my birth control. And first of all, it wasn't happening right away like I thought it would.
Mhm.
And and I was praying specifically, for a boy, a son,
Mhm.
and and then I was just like, because then I started getting nervous and my face started wavering. I was like, okay, Lord, I'm real nervous. Like, can I get pregnant again? Like, what is up? Like, was that first one a fluke? So I just like, okay, Lord, let me just scratch this. If I could get pregnant, just let me get pregnant. I don't care if it's a girl or a boy.
Mhm.
And I knew as soon as I got pregnant that it was a girl because my prayer had changed.
Wow.
So, although in my mind, you pregnant or whatever, you just hoping like, cause you don't, and this goes into what I'll talk about later, but like once you're pregnant, you think that you can change the situation or their parts, and that's not
Yes.
necessarily the
It's
case.
not true.
So,
It's not true.
so
It's not
so,
true.
I'm believing while I'm pregnant with this girl for a boy, and I'm like, yeah, no, that ain't lining up. So,
Mhm. Oh my God. That happened to me too.
my daughter, and obviously she is a blessing from God, and wouldn't trade her
Mhm.
for the world or whatever. So, we're going forth, and like, we're like, we're like, um because she's a different breed than my
Oh
first.
yes. Oh
I feel
yes.
like for most moms, if you have multiple children, your first child spoils you. So our first daughter was very cool, laid back, and our second daughter, is very her, unapologetically her, and I love it. So that kind of shifted our mindset on, okay, like, do we want to add another? And then I start, like, okay, if we have a third child, that means we got to change our house, change our car.
Mhm.
There's no longer we sitting in the same row on an airplane. Like, all of those things
Mhm.
change. And so we was like, I was just like, you know what, Lord, I'm all right. We all right. The Obamas got two girls. Like, really fix it in my mind. Like, I'm good. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And if I was honest with myself, I was not good. Like,
Really?
I would see people with sons and having baby boys or whatever, and they'd be like, yo, my son would be so much cuter than them, or like, or like, yo, my son would be so, like, has so much swag, or just like really envisioning
Uh-huh.
him, whatever. And but I just kept suppressing it and kept suppressing it. And like, people, including you, would like talk about, when are you having a boy? When are you having a boy? And people, like, I swear, like, three people specifically I remember, outside of you, coming up and basically giving me a word. Like, they said it came from God. Like, no, I saw you with a boy. I saw you with a son.
Yeah.
And I'm like, laughing it off or whatever, like, ha ha ha, you funny. And, and then I'm like, okay, so I'm just, again, suppressing it or whatever, because it's like, there's no guarantee for this to happen. And I I don't want another girl. Like it's not an option for me because, you know, there's a lot that goes in with having girls, especially girls with thick, gorgeous hair.
Yo, all her girls have this hair that is like you're gonna have hair down to your butt, and it's
Yeah.
and it's long and it's attractive, and it's like, how does she handle this?
Exactly. You know, not even including my hair. So I'm just like,
Oh God, yes.
I just can't. And so, you know, and I get another word and I get another word and I'm like, ha 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 ha. Stop playing with me. Like, leave me alone. I am trying to be content with myself and my children. You know what I'm saying? Because in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to seem ungrateful for the children that I have
Absolutely.
by asking for another or asking for one of the opposite sex or whatever. And so I really just kind of like suppressed those thoughts and those feelings, you know what I'm saying? And so then the last time this was right around the time of the launch of Daddy Issues and stuff, I got the third word. And this person hit me up like via text in the middle of the daggone morning, like 3-4 o'clock. So how many kids did y'all say y'all wanted? And I'm like, 2. He was like, yeah, so I saw in my dream. Now this person has no business dreaming about me or my family. So he says, I had a dream about you and I saw your son, and the way he described this little boy was exactly how I saw him in my dreams and thoughts.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm crying now because I'm like, bruh, wow. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. And so it just kind of, you know, reminded me of the Shunammite woman where it's like, Lord, now.
No, I didn't ask for this.
Now,
so don't lie to me.
I was content. Okay, don't play with me. Don't play with my feelings because I can't handle it, you know? And so, so from there, I come home and I'm like, okay, Lord, this is like the third time. And he done gave me a clear vision. Like you done saw him with your own spiritual eyes. So I come home, I talk to Paul, and I'm like, what do you think about having a baby? Like, and he's like, you know, wait, where is this coming from? And I tell him, and, you know, he's like, are you sure? Because pretty much it's, you know, it's going to be pretty much on you, you know, because you're going to have to carry him. You know, I nursed my kids solely for 13 months.
Wow.
And if, you know, and if we had a girl, I would be responsible for doing her hair. And so he was just like, you know, this is basically, he said, I support you. I'm in support of whatever you want to do, but you have to make the decision. And so now, mind you, this was all around the same time that like I had went in to find out about permanent sterilization. He had gone in to ask about permanent sterilization. And so it was just like all at the same time. And God intervened for real. And so he was just like, you know, whatever you want to do. And I was just like, all right, let's do it. So it was maybe like a week or two later, I got my birth control removed. And I'm thinking again, like, okay, it's gonna take a little, you know, a couple months, whatever, no problem.
So you're setting expectations,
right? It's gonna take a couple months because unlike the pill, the IUD, I don't know who be telling these lies, but for me and my body, it didn't happen immediately like they say that it does. That your hormones go right back and you're automatically fertile and stuff like that. Like lies and deception. So so we are trying and nothing happens. And then I think it was right before Father's Day. So we started in February, and right before Father's Day, I'm in Macy's, and this one of those cosmetic helper ladies.
Yeah.
She's like, how far along are you? And I'm about to like judo chop her in the throat. And so I go because we're trying. So I'm like, maybe, okay, maybe I'm just maybe something's going on. So I go and get a test, and the test says that it's positive. Then
What?
and right after you get a test, you're supposed to go in and get blood work done to
Yeah.
confirm.
Yeah.
Go get the blood work. The blood work says, yeah, no, psych, you're not. And so I'm like,
So a false positive?
it was a false positive. So I was like, okay, well, that sucks. So we continue to try. And I think we actually did get pregnant in August. Hold on, because I have all of this written down.
Oh my God, you have notes and
I
everything.
have notes.
Are you chronicling this? Because this really
I
could
am.
be like your second book.
I am.
And this is amazing. You know, you talked about or you mentioned the Shunammite woman and
Mm-hmm.
how she wasn't necessarily looking for a baby. But have you ever thought that God heard the desires of your heart?
Honey, that's what I was about to circle back to, because, it's amazing. Like, because, number one, it definitely was a spoken desire. It
Right.
also was on my vision board,
Uh-huh.
and it's just something that again, like I said, I discarded, I pushed away or whatever. And it just like this whole situation just really confirms that God really does care, not only hear, listen, care,
Right.
answer prayers, all of those things, but he does definitely show up in the area of giving us the desires of our heart that line up with his word. And
Exactly.
so, absolutely. Yeah.
And not to mention that there is something about, the male seed. You have two girls. So,
Right.
that heritage, of course, they're going to go off, they'll get married, their names will change, but there's something about having an heir
Right.
to build this legacy and this heritage on. Now, one of the things that Kita did not mention is that Paul, her husband, is actually a financial advisor. He believes in faith, family, and finances. I mean,
Yes.
strongly. And he teaches it with such a conviction and a heart. And his goal is actually to make sure that families are stable and that they have a sound financial plan. So this is an amazing thing because, for me, it was never one of those things where I just saw as, oh, they should have a boy. No, it was always one of those things as in legacy. There's
Right.
legacy in this little boy that, of course, your girls would have as well, especially when it comes to your family. But that this baby, this male child will carry on. So I am
Absolutely.
excited, about his future. But let's get back to the story
Yes.
about the
So
pregnancy.
we got pregnant in August, like I said, and that was all the way a real one.
Wow.
Like, so positive P test, positive blood test, and you go in for like the little ultrasounds or
Yeah.
whatever, and like within your first trimester.
Hmm.
And I was 7 weeks, and I go in there, and my uterus is large. It is enlarged, like there was a baby in there, but there was no baby. So, and so I was just like, oh, okay, And so I ended up having to, get the procedure to have all of that stuff removed, so we could start over or whatever. And for me, it was just like, okay, well, I appreciate you. I appreciate that I wasn't able, like I didn't see a baby in there. That would have been just the worst, right?
Yeah.
So,
Oh my
so
gosh.
we go through that, and then we get pregnant again in December, right before Christmas, right before Mama's birthday. And so we get pregnant again in December, again, positive P test, positive blood test, go in for the ultrasounds. Baby is there, heartbeat is there. We are good. And I start spotting, like no pain, no itch, no nothing like that. But there was like a light spotting, which they say is normal in your first trimester, whatever. But I, called and said, hey, da 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 da. I go in for an ultrasound. The heartbeat, it has stopped. So this time I'm devastated because I done seen this baby. I done heard this baby's heart. And so I'm like, holy crap. Like, I run into the bathroom and I call Paul, like devastated, crying, carrying on or whatever. And, he's like, do you want to try again?
Wow.
Because it's completely up to you. I don't want you to have to go through this again, whatever. Like, do you want to do this again? And I was just like, yes, I believe God.
Wow. Okay. Pause on the play. Pause on the play. So we had one false positive. We had one positive at this point and then you go in and you see nothing.
Correct.
And then you have another positive. Ultrasound is good. You come back after what most people would say is normal spotting and there's no heartbeat.
Correct.
But yet you still say, I need to try again. Where was your faith level throughout? Because to me, it had just me listening. I would have had some dips. It would have been a roller coaster ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what made you cling to, listen, I got a promise? Because women need to know that when there's a promise in heaven, what in the world do you do in earth?
Right. So, honestly, it was, you know what it was? Okay. So by this time, God had already given me his name. And that is what like him confirming to me, not through nobody else, but to me in prayer, like, no, I'm talking to you. I'm promising this to you. Like, that is what really helped me stay grounded and lifted at the same time. Because, like, honestly, I was having dips and stuff because, number one, you have people around you getting pregnant and, like, unexpectedly.
Yes.
And it's like, hey, Lord, you remember you're praying.
Right.
Okay. Trying,
Right.
And it's not happening for me or whatever. And so that's when it was like a low, like, okay, Lord, have you forgot about us? And then it would come back up, and then it would be like another. It was definitely a roller coaster. I cannot honestly say I was like, yes, this. I don't care how many times. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, there was definitely lows and ups and downs and stuff, like, because it's just like, okay, like, I don't understand why this is taking so long and what's wrong. Like, it almost made me question, like, okay, like I've had 2 kids. What can change? Do you know what I'm saying? It's the same parents, same chromosomes. You know what I'm saying? What is going on? And so, to understand, like, again, before this, you think that getting pregnant is easy. You just do it and boom, you've got yourself a baby. But then when you realize that it is an actual miracle that happens inside your body, like, it really takes it to another level. And it's like, oh shoot, like, there is some real magical, mystical, anointed things going on in there when a baby is created and attaches and stays and grows. It's really, really amazing, And I think that part of it was something that I needed to learn, and also understanding that, number one, miscarriages are not spoken about, like you said, but also that African American women are not talking about it as frequently as other ethnicities as well, because it's like this shame associated with it, and there's this stigma, and all of those things that we don't realize because we're not talking about it, that it happens. It has nothing to do with us or what we've done or anything along those lines, and it's just like, it's just something that happens because of whatever. And so understanding that, it was just like, okay, well, after once it happened, it was just like, okay, well then that one wasn't Isaac. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't know what that baby's name was, but it wasn't Isaac. You know what I'm saying? Because Isaac would live. You know? So so getting to the point where it's just like, okay, I believe and I know that God is going to come through, because he has yet to say something to me or promise something to me and not come through. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, the fact that, number one, you intervened, like you interrupted our regularly scheduled sterilization, you know what I'm saying, to make this happen, and then to drop his name into my spirit, and then drop it into my husband's, because I was like, Lord, again, this whole situation is going to have to be you, because I'm not going to tell my husband nothing. I'm not going to tell him that you spoke to me about nothing. So if this is the baby's name, tell him, and I will wait. I refuse to tell anyone until he says it out, his name. And so, like, maybe once a week or every day or whatever, whenever I would think about it, this is obviously way before we got pregnant, like, what's your son's name? What's your son's name? What's your son's name? And he would be like, I don't know. He never said another name. He would just be like, I don't know. And until he did, and it was the name that God had spoke to me, which is Isaac. And so, like, I'm like, oh shoot, like, whoa.
Yeah, it's real now. It's
real now. You really on some other stuff. So so after that one, and that miscarriage was scary, because that time I decided, okay, I don't want to have to go through the surgery again. So you have a miscarriage, they give you two options. You can do the D&E, or you can take this pill, which basically allows you to miscarry at home, or, empty everything at home. So I tried the pill, and number one, it almost killed me twice. So first, it started to shut down my throat, and like, I felt like a nigga couldn't breathe. And so ended up having to go to the hospital for that. And then, so after they sent me home for that, a couple days later, I started to hemorrhage. I'm home alone with my youngest at the time. And I'm like, holy crap, like, this is a lot of blood. And so I ended up having to drive myself, because Paul was out of the state. Having to drive myself to the hospital, like, while I'm dying.
Oh my God.
It was just really, really scary. But, obviously they ended up having to do a D&E anyway, because basically that was the issue. And so then that got cleared up. And then that was in February, and we got pregnant again with this baby in April. And so what changed, what I did this time, was, number one, I had a In Faith For list of confessions and scriptures or whatever. And then I also, I found a 8 days of fervent prayer for conception on YouTube. And that thing, like, blessed my whole soul.
Wow.
So I was doing that, looking at my scriptures every day, like, believing, no, my strongest egg will connect with Paul's strongest sperm, and will connect, and will, become this, baby, that's the best of both worlds. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I'm standing on. That's what I'm believing on. That's what I'm confessing
Mm-hmm.
on a daily basis. And, and then that's what happened.
So, talk a little bit about the scriptures that you used in order to make sure that you stayed in faith.
Okay. So, well, obviously, since I knew his name, I started with Genesis 17:19,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically like, yes, your Sarah will bear you a son, and he will be
Mm-hmm.
named Isaac. And then, also in Genesis, where Isaac is praying to God for his wife to be able to have a baby, she gets pregnant. And then in Genesis 30, where it said God remembered Rachel and she bare a son.
Mm-hmm.
Then 1 Samuel 1:27, God, I asked the Lord to give me this child, and he granted my request.
Mm-hmm.
2 Samuel, David and Bathsheba. 2 Kings, about Elisha, talking
Mm-hmm.
about him holding a son. You
Mm-hmm.
will hold a son in this time next year. Psalms 127, behold, children are heritage from the Lord, a fruit of the womb, a reward. Psalms 118, I will not die, instead I will live to tell what the Lord has done. And Luke 11:27, God bless your mother, from the womb which you came, and the breast that nursed you. And then once I actually learned about it was a book called Supernatural Childbirth.
Mm-hmm.
And she has a lot of good scriptures as well, but it was basically saying how Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law, and barrenness, miscarriages, and even painful childbirth are all curses that were spoken of in the beginning, that Christ has redeemed us from. So, speaking that into existence as well.
Okay, Kita, that was crazy. That is such a journey. So, what are three things that you would tell a woman if you met them today and they struggle with miscarriages or infertility? What would be three things that you would tell them to help them along the journey?
Number one, believe God. Believe God, believe his word. Find scriptures that speak directly to your situation, and believe it wholeheartedly. Number two, believe in your body as a woman. As a woman and soon to be mother. Believe that it is possible for you to conceive, carry, deliver, and if you choose, nurse your baby, your children, and have a healthy and happy pregnancy. Believe it, because that is how God designed us. He would not have given you a womb if he didn't want nothing to go in there.
Oh, that's
And
good.
third, don't give up. Don't give up. Sometimes, like I said, the roller coaster is real, but
Hmm.
don't give up. God said that if you have the faith the size of a mustard seed, all you got to have is just that little itty bitty faith. Don't give up. You can move mountains. You can move any and every infirmity, disease, anything that is standing in the way of you conceiving and keeping that baby in your womb. You can move it with your faith. And so don't give up.
I love that. Now, where can they find you, especially if they have questions or, and I want to make sure that we share the passages that you provided earlier. So
Mm-hmm.
I will put those in the episode notes. So, ladies, look for those in the episode notes for this podcast. But where can they get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me at, I am mainly on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Nikkita Hair Jervey and or Nikkitas Peace.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Kita, thank you for sharing your journey with us. I know that, I mean, you seamlessly discussed it, but I know that there had to be way more to it than how you shared it with us today. But I am so glad that you have the liberty to talk about it, and you're free to talk about it and share that journey so that other women can have that same faith and
Yeah.
live in that same hope lifestyle that you created for your children. And we cannot wait to hear about the arrival of baby Isaac.
Yes.
Super
I plan
excited.
on recording the whole thing, so stay
Okay.
tuned for that.
Mm-mm. I don't want to see that. No birth videos. Just want to see him when he's out and everything is great. Cover all of it up, and then send us the photos. But thank you for joining us for this episode of the Purpose, Power, and Profit Society, where I help women identify their purpose, transform their pain into power, and activate their zone of genius so that they can create multiple streams of income. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for the next episode. And I am so excited that you are in our community. All right, talk soon.